I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming, and happy Valentine's Day to everyone, since you're spending such a nice evening with us instead of having more fun and food and things like that. So, roll call, Mr. Lundberg.
Ullum.
Yes.
Odie.
Yep.
Saxer.
Yep.
Talcott.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. With that, there are no changes that I'm aware of on the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented, please.
So moved.
Second. There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. No conflict of interest disclosure or waiver request tonight. Takes us to the approval of the board meeting minutes from January 10th and January 24th. If there are no corrections, additions, or deletions, I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented, please.
So moved. Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Community input. I did not hear that there was any on the agenda for tonight. Takes us to financial items. Bills and claims, Mr. Lundberg.
I had a total in your board package tonight of bills and claims totaling $816,855. I didn't have any specific items noted. If you guys had any questions. $234,000 to Teach Well, their quarterly payment to them, and there was $150,000 with utility bills in that total. Pay vouchers were, or the advance payments was $6,212. The breakdown is in your packet. Pay vouchers $82,542, and food service bills of $188,785.
Any questions for Mr. Lundberg on the bills and claims tonight? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented, please.
So moved.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Financial report, Mr. Lundberg.
Cash report for the month of January came into the month with $15.9 million, $2.3 million of receipts, and $4,155,000 of disbursements, left $14.1 million at the end of the month of January. $6.6 million was in the general fund, $5.2 million in the capital outlay fund, $1,564,000 in the special education fund, $72,000 in the enterprise fund, and $663,000 in our capital projects fund. The $2.3 million is itemized on the following two pages. Investment report of $1,285,000, a CD and a $285,000 in a money market fund. Payroll for the month of January totaled $2,426,000. The financial reports, first of all, the revenue, we're 7 months in, 58% of the fiscal year done. I did not have anything noted on the revenue side of things. If anybody had any questions on the revenue. Expenditure, once again, 58% of the year through, and you can see the general fund is at 59% expended year to date. Capital outlay is at 66.75. Special ed is at 58%. The bond redemption fund is at 94%. There's a capital project statement. These pretty much not much change from month to month here at the end of the, there's $663,000 surplus. I said we have about $150,000 of outstanding invoices to come in yet, so we'll end up with a $500,000 excess that'll be transferred into the bond redemption fund to help pay for the debt service. Food service department showed an accrued profit at the end of January of $605,000. As we've talked about before, that fund continues to be very, very flush with funds with federal government reimbursement. Lastly, the trust and agency fund has $238,681 of amounts held for others.
Any questions tonight on the financial report? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the financial report as presented, please.
So moved. Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That takes us to our general business section. First item we have under administration reports, Administrative Center, Superintendent Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just have a few things to update you on here this evening. No change in terms of COVID-19 information, website, or protocols. The budget process for next year, obviously we are knee-deep into that process. Forms and documents have been distributed. Here, later in this meeting, you'll be receiving the presentation of the five-year plan. We'll approve new staffing positions here at our second meeting in February. And then in March, we'll look at the preliminary capital outlay budget that'll be presented and approved. Again, that's necessary to complete all major items to be bid in a timely manner. You'll receive a preliminary budget presentation in May, and then the formal budget presentation in July. School board election, there are 2 3-year seats available. Contact the business office for more details if you are interested. Negotiations timeline and wage recommendation overview there for your respective respective review. Would note that at our second meeting in March, we will go into executive session for negotiation preparations, and then we will engage with negotiations with the BVA on March 30th. We have additional dates scheduled if necessary. We're looking at April 11th as the date to ratify the master contract, bring forward classify wage recommendation, administrative recommendation, etc. BV listens. Our work environment survey has been completed. We're in the process of compiling that respective data. Legislative session. We ended the 5th week of the legislative session last week. Continue to monitor legislation through our respective groups. Would encourage our Board of Education as well as our patrons, Associated School Boards, school administrators, both have bill tracking information and resources on their websites. Legislation goes very fast. So it's important if you're really interested in the daily happenings, you can monitor there. But generally speaking, a lot of things are said prior to being done. Kindergarten screening is open for next school year. Encourage anyone with a kindergarten age eligible child to contact our respective elementary schools for registration for kindergarten screening for next year. We have good news reports scheduled for our second meetings of the month from our respective buildings and levels, so look forward to seeing them at our second meetings. I want to provide some updated information regarding the Brandon Valley High School addition project and the respective schedule. On Thursday, February 10th, bids were due and we opened bids. There were two respective bids submitted. We originally anticipated bringing forward a bid for approval here tonight. However, after Friday, we initially told the architect that we were going to take the low bid and alternate number 2, and then we received information later in the morning that there was a technical issue with the low bid. Approximately a $200,000 item with underground utilities that was erred on. So we evaluated our options with the architect, and administratively, myself, Mr. Lundberg, and Mr. Henschel discussed our respective options, and ultimately are bringing forward the recommendation to reject all bids and rebid the project. It's important to note that we will be meeting the publication notification requirements as outlined. And then I would just note that we tweaked the plan ever so slightly, and when I say that, the base bid really doesn't change. But alternate number 1, which was the high school weight room and storage alternate, is being deleted from the project. And we are going to have alternate number 1 be the chemistry lab renovation, and alternate number 2 will be an alternate deduct, and that will ultimately be a deduct for all finishes on the second floor part of the addition. So it'll give us the opportunity to control costs if necessary, depending on how bids come in, and we can drive down that cost. The great news is that's those second floor classrooms and that second floor area in the addition is not immediately necessary. And I would also note that it gives us the opportunity in a few years to look at a project where we combine second floor renovation or second floor finishes with the weight room addition and storage. So that could potentially tie into a future project if you're thinking about the long-range plan. So anyway, long story short, the plans will be, or the publication will go out. We anticipate opening bids, or we will be opening bids on Thursday, March 10th at 2 p.m. And bringing forward for you a bid to approve and award on March 14th. I would note there is no change to the project timeline and or schedule. We still have enough time on the front end to get everything rolling, to get the parking lot construction started and completed, and then as well as the overall project completed by substantial completion, which is June 16th, 2023. So we'll certainly entertain any questions that you guys have on that. Would note the priorities are not any different. Still general classrooms, ground floor sped, science lab classrooms. There's no change to our priorities, but we are seeking to rebid that pending the school board's approval of that recommendation. And then some calendar items. There's no school this Friday or Monday. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up there on March 14th and March 15th. School will be in session on March 17th. There's no school on March 18th for the comp day, and April 1st, we have in-service. With that, would certainly entertain any questions that you have. All right.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would like to recognize our Board of Education. February 21st through the 25th is School Board Recognition Week. In recognition of the dedicated leadership in public education and for improving achievement for all public school district students, the Associated School Boards of South Dakota honors the Brandon Valley School District Board of Education and their respective members for their tremendous work within our schools and the community. So thank you so much, each and every one of you, for all that you do.
Thank you. Mr. Lundberg, anything additional tonight? Okay. Mr. Schleckaway? Mrs. Moore? Mr. Paula? Mr. Thorson? Okay, or Dr. Nelson? Mr. Skibsted?
So a couple things. First off, we ran our spelling bee for the first time in a couple years since COVID, and one of our little sixth grade boys won the regional this weekend, so he's moving on to the state spelling bee championship. Maybe we'll get another Brandon kid to go out to DC for the national script spelling bee. We'll see, but that was exciting news. I got a text from him this weekend, and he was pretty excited and spent a lot of time. The other thing I want to talk about tonight is the man standing behind me. I've never had anybody ask to come talk to the school board. Mr. Hubers, the fifth grade band instructor, would like to speak with you guys about a couple things. He is an incredible educator, spent many years in this district. Many of you have probably been or have interacted with him at some point in time. He is the fifth grade band instructor at the intermediate school, and he came over and started the building when this building opened 7 years ago. And it's always incredible to me to have 150 to 180 fifth graders that have never played an instrument before, and what they can produce and make an actual concert for a holiday winter concert. So I'm always impressed by that. But he has some kind of exciting news that we're proud of, and I'll let him explain it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Larson and School Board, for allowing me a few minutes just to share a few exciting things that we've got going on in our fifth grade band program and the sixth grade band program as well. For those of you that aren't familiar with what our program or how our schedule is, I have 3 fifth grade bands. We meet twice a week for 40 minutes, and then we also have a 40-minute sectional each week, and then a 20-minute small group of private lessons. So that's 140 minutes of instruction time each week that these young musicians get. In fifth grade band, and Mrs. Schenk's schedule is very similar as well on the sixth grade level. I just spent last Friday and Saturday at South Dakota Bandmasters in Brookings for a day and a half and got to visit with a number of the band directors from around the state, and am very thrilled to say that I think we have the most comprehensive first and second year program in the state when it comes to the scheduling and the amount of numbers that we have, and just what we're doing. And I think we have the middle school all-state results to help show that, with 29 students making middle school all-state band and 14 of them being 6th and 7th graders who Mrs. Shank and I had the opportunity to work with for the past couple of seasons. We got a couple of interesting concerts coming up. February 28th is our combined 5th and 6th grade band concert. We'll put about 270 5th and 6th graders on the activity center floor in a couple of weeks. Each band will play a couple of numbers individually, and then they'll combine for 2 numbers. So that's a great time for our 5th graders to get an idea of what the 6th graders do, but also for those 6th graders to help lead the 5th graders. It's a great opportunity for both of them. Then on April 11 is our District 5 through 12 concert. We're excited to be able to do that one this year. We haven't been able to do that one for a couple of seasons due to COVID. I'm especially excited. We're going to premiere a brand new work that I commissioned would have been 2.5 years ago for my 35th anniversary of teaching, and we never got to do it. So we're excited to be able to premiere a brand new work arranged by a young composer, Tyler Brandt, out of Atlanta, Georgia. He was one of the middle school all-state band directors a couple of years back, and has arranged one of my favorite works, the Largo and Finale from the New World Symphony. So as soon as we perform that, that one will go into print and will be published and available for other schools around the world to purchase as well. April 12th is our district percussion night. That includes every percussionist in grades 5 through 12. Oftentimes, those guys are all the way in the back of the band and sometimes don't get the accolades that the wind players get, so it's great to feature all of those kids. And then our spring concert will be May 17. That's another exciting concert for me. About 1.5 years ago, as I thought, I have been blessed all these years to work with 5th graders, but sometimes it's hard to find music for beginners that's really exciting and really interesting. So what I posted something on Facebook over the summer in some of the band groups that I'm a member of, asking composers that would be interested in writing pieces for 5th grade band. I probably had about 35, 40 composers from around the world contact me that hey, yeah, we'd like to take on that challenge. 5th grade band music, beginning 5th grade band music uses 6 notes, half notes, whole notes, and quarter notes, maybe a couple of eighth notes. It's hard to be creative with those severe limitations. You know, to write for college, you can do anything, you know, all the different instruments and stuff, but to be creative and write for 5th graders is a bit of a challenge. So I've got 6 composers that I've selected that are in the process of writing pieces just for our 5th grade band. And after in March, when we start working on those, we'll be able to do some Zoom meetings with these composers, and my 5th graders will be able to actually work with these composers, learn a little bit about the composition process, which I know nothing about. I can take what's on the page and bring it to life, but I don't have the brain power to put it on the page. So I'm excited about it also, to get to learn about how these composers put music together. We've got composers that have published anywhere from beginning all the way up to college level music. 3 or 4 of the composers teach 5th through 8th grade band, so they're right in the trenches, know what 5th graders are able to do. And then there's a couple of brand new composers just out of college. I'm excited to give them the opportunity to write something. And when these pieces all go into print after May 17, they will all say, commissioned for the 2021-22 Brandon Valley Intermediate School 5th grade band, Brandon, South Dakota, Del Huber's director. So any other school district that purchases these will always have our name on it. So I'm excited that we're on the cutting edge of beginning band music. And one of the other composers that is writing for us is an alum of Brandon Valley, Kate Huntemer. She goes to USD, studies composition with Dr. Lombardi, and has agreed to write a piece for us as well. I just got that this morning via email. So I am excited about all of the things that we're going to do, and Also, when I was at Bandmasters over the weekend, talked to the president and the vice president of South Dakota Bandmasters and asked them what it would take to get our 5th graders to perform at Bandmasters. So we are going to record our February 28 concert and send that in, and hopefully after they hear our recording, they're going to allow our current 5th graders to perform next year's Laura's 6th grade, and then based on what our 5th grade band sounds like now and the reputation we have, to allow our new 5th grade band to be the 5th grade band that performs at Bandmasters next season. So thank you for your time, and I am excited about all of the things that we're going to do in our district this year and upcoming years. Thank you.
That's it. I'm not going to follow up with that,
Thank you.
unless you have questions.
No, but if you've never experienced chaperoning a band trip, I highly recommend it. I've only done a few. Mr. Paula, or no, I'm sorry, going backwards, Mr. Pearson. I need my reading glasses. Mrs. Otime, Ms. Foster, anything tonight?
Intimidating. So I just want to share with you that part of the month of January for kindness as one of our character traits, my student council wanted to do a penny war. And so last November, when we were working on our Veterans Day program, they wanted to do something for honor flight. And so we finally kicked that in the month of January, and we did a penny war for honor flight. It was kind of humbling to have the final result of almost $3,400 collected for honor flight during 1 week. So along with that, then we usually do our Valentine sales, which we wrapped up today with selling over 2,500 Valentines, which if any of you know what we do at Fred Assam, we write on each Valentine and then we staple some kind of little trinket to it. So there's a lot of hours that go behind that. But 2,500 times about 25 a piece, and we're going to put that money together with the penny war results. So we'll have a tiny, nice little sum that we can go towards honor flight. So I know I wanted to have a dedication, so I've been working with honor flight to get someone up for a check presentation. And when Dr. Larson and I were visiting about it, a little coaxing on his part and making the right connections for me, I guess, we now have a little event coming to Fred Assam Elementary on Thursday, February 24th at 1:30 in the afternoon, and Congressman Dusty Johnson will be joining us, as well as the Guardian coordinator from the Honor Flight will be there. One of our groups of Cub Scouts will be doing the flag ceremony, and so I think it's all coming together rather nicely, far beyond what I had planned, but thank you, Dr. Larson, for giving me that little nudge to do a little more to celebrate. I think our kids need to know what an awesome, awesome thing that they did by raising the money they did, and not making it a competition, not a competition, but all in the way that we can give back and recognize those that sacrificed for us. So welcome to join us in the gym. We have Dusty for about 40 minutes, so I have to keep it short and sweet in that time frame. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Mrs. Hofkamp, anything tonight? No, thank you. Mr. Horst? Mrs. Palmer? Mrs. Nelson, anything tonight? Mr. Henschel? I don't. Mr. Frecking? And he, I think, is busy. All right. No board policy tonight. That takes us to our first item under general business, presentation of the Brandon Valley School District 5-year plan 2022 to 2027.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I will provide a brief introduction here for Mr. Lundberg prior to getting into the capital outlay, the general fund, and the special education fund 5-year plan documents. I want to say a special thank you to our administrative staff who develop and present their respective building level 5-year plan. We take all of that information into consideration as we develop the long-range plan. And would just note in terms of the financial plan, capital outlay, general fund, special education fund, 5-year plan, we are very, very fortunate to have a rock-solid 5-year plan in terms of finances and how we manage our growth and our challenges and our opportunities. The work done by Mr. Lundberg in terms of the 5-year planning process and the financial component of it is truly incredible. We're very fortunate to have him doing this for us. So an incredible wealth of information, a rock-solid plan. Mr. Lundberg, I would certainly turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. As I've said before, I always think the 5-year plan is probably the most important document that you guys as a school board undertake. It just, more so than the general budget, and the fact that it goes out 5 years and not 1 year. This takes you out the whole 5-year period, and we can see what's happening with each decision you make each board meeting. As Jared said, I have this divided up into 4 sections: the capital outlay fund, general fund, special education fund, and enrollment. I'll hit the capital outlay fund first. This is our major fund for equipment and building needs. As you've seen in years in the past, the fund has a certain number of items that we need to purchase each year. Those are listed in the body of the form. We always have to purchase buses. Tech equipment is about $1 million plus a year. Classroom furnishings, copier leases, those types of things are in the body. They're there every year, so we just take those for granted that they're going to be in there. And then the other things in the context of the budget, you'll see in the first line item there, the debt service, $555,000 this year. Next year, $515,000. That is that debt is on the Brandon Valley Intermediate School. When we issued that bond issue, we had a little bit of capital outlay certificates on that. So we basically have very little debt right now in the capital outlay fund. Very little debt. As you go across there, you can see that bounce up to $1,750,000. That's my projection for you guys to fund a new school at that time through capital outlay certificates. This levy up here of 2.75 that you currently have is the maximum levy, so you can't go any higher. So that'll be no change in your tax levy there when you fund that new school. That's about a $16 million school. And that's based on interest rates from last year. So it's probably a little bit, but we have the room in there, obviously. I mean, if the interest rates, and they probably will go up here in the near future, so if that goes up anywhere to $2 million, we'll still be in good shape. $16-17 million new school, elementary type school, is what's on the docket for that. I also had noted that next year you have another large textbook adoption. That's math, $1,150,000. Below that, you can see technology purchases, high school one-to-one initiative. That's up next year. Tech replacement equipment. Then we also have started a smart board replacement schedule, 5-year schedule of replacing smart boards in the district. I think in 22-23 that amounts to 1.3 million, I believe. Yeah, 1.3 million of total technology purchases. Then lastly, in 2022-23, we have the major addition to the high school, $8,850,000 slated for that, which is funded majority-wise through cash of $7 million of the capital outlay fund. That's just been critical. As I've always said, it's this capital outlay fund, the good management of the cash reserves has allowed us to build these, or have these big projects. I call them big projects, big little projects that we're able to fund with cash and not have to issue any debt. And our debt I'm very, very, very proud of our debt load here at Brandon Valley. We just don't have the amount of debt that a growing school district like ours would generally have. And that's such a good thing, especially for down the road when we have more and more needs coming and whatnot. And you will notice that in the plan, in the far years 4 and 5, I have other building projects, this $10 million in the last 2 years. This is something to do with a placeholder for the middle school. Something will have to happen at the middle school. Whether it's a new building or additions or whatever, that hasn't been decided yet. But something will probably have to happen on a capital outlay fund for a new middle school. In addition to that, you will have intermediate school needs coming up around the same time. They are not on this chart because this is a capital outlay fund. It would be my recommendation that you do something with a general obligation bond for a new intermediate school, and so they wouldn't show up on here. Now, the good thing about that, in 26, 27, in December of 27, we will pay off Fred Assam Elementary and the high school addition, which is a debt service in the bond redemption fund of about $2 million. So you can about imagine what I'm going to say now, that'll once again will allow you to roll that bond issue in with no or limited tax implications. The property valuations up here, you can see this year it's at 2.5 billion, and throughout the schedule it goes up 200 to 250 million a year, which is about an 8% growth. That really allows us to do a lot of things to have that kind of growth. Questions on I think I got everything that I wanted noted, pointed out. Any questions from you guys? And I feel very confident in the district valuations continuing to rise at the level that they have been, $200 and some million a year. The next category would be the general fund. That's our major operating fund of the district. It's the largest fund of the district. The fund is totally driven, I guess I'll say, by the per student allocation and the enrollment. So that's where our enrollment projections come in to be so important, right down at the bottom. That's our projected increases of enrollment and our actual enrollment. The fund is basically driven by that number and that number only. 95% of the revenue is from that number. So that's why it is so important, and that's why we're so fortunate in the fact that we are growing at a manageable rate, but growing at a very good rate to generate a lot of money. You can see that next year I have as projected a 180 kid enrollment increase, and with the state aid going up 6%, that will equate to $1.2 million of additional students. Those 180 students will generate $1.2 million, and the 6% increase will generate $1.8 million. And then you can see the corresponding numbers throughout the spreadsheet there. Obviously, they drop down. I highly doubt that the state is going to be able to go 6% a year in this 5-year time frame. So I dropped them down to more rate of inflation or whichever is less type numbers. Just kind of logistics on the spreadsheet. You can see on the total revenues, $34,280,000. They become the beginning revenues for the next year. Same with the expenses, $34,865,000 becomes the new number for next year as a starting point, and then I add and subtract these categories in the middle there. So that's how I generate these numbers. And the main categories would be the salary increases, benefit increases, additional staff are the main categories of expenses in there. The other things are plus and minuses each year, but not as significant. Next year, a 1% raise next year for all staff would equate to about $250,000. With a 6% increase in funding, I have it slated for a 7% increase in teacher salaries. Last year we had 6%, so that's going to be a back-to-back, what I would call a banner situation for our staff. That variables in there is right here, benefits increase. I don't know how else to put this, but we haven't been exactly stellar on our money coming in and versus money going out in our health insurance. So you know what that equates to, large increase in premiums. I have it slated for 10%, $400,000 increase. We'll see. Any changes, would obviously have to come from the other big categories. The other big category, as I said, was the additional staff, $950,000. There's a schedule in here that follows that shows our additional staff requests are about double that, which is not unusual, but that's still a big number, $950,000 of new staff that we're able to do with. I mean, this 6% increase in state aid just allows us to do so much more. It's just so nice. Questions? You can see I have that additional staff kind of running through the 5-year period, a similar number, 850, 900. With the growth that we're experiencing, we'll just continue to have staff needs. Staffing request spreadsheet or report is in the middle there. The next one is the special education fund. Operates similar to the general fund. It's driven by a student count and whatnot in different categories. They have 6 categories in special ed that you're funded on. If you can scroll down just a little bit, Jared, you can see that we generally average about 50 new child count kids each year. This December, our child count was not significantly changed. It was a small increase. The one benefit that we had this year is the state of South Dakota rebased all the categories. So based on what I'm seeing right now, that rebase would be about an additional $200,000 of income to the special education. They look at all six of those categories and determine what's a more actual amount for those categories. So that'll be an increase of a couple $100,000 plus the 6% increase in state aid. And we won't have much of an I call it an enrollment increase. It's not really enrollment, it's just our child count going up and a larger number of special needs children. That's a smaller number in 22-23. Then it pops up to $250,000 a year with 50 kids a year. Same raise, same benefit increase, additional staff of $225,000, and then other. Our fund balance, you can see it will end the year this year right at the 25% limitation in the special education fund. We'll maintain that throughout the next 2 years and then slowly drop that down. So there was a few years ago that we had that down to like less than 10%, so we built that back up and got to a level where we can manage it now. So I'm pleased with that situation. That allowed us to do some things with the tax levy that you'll see up here, that reduction of the mill levy to the minimum. The state of South Dakota says that the tax levy in the special education fund shall be $1.67 per thousand, with the minimum required for you to levy as a school district to receive state aid would be $1.47, about 20 cents less. That's what I was able to do last year when we set the levy for next year's taxes. Any questions on that? The next schedule I have in there is just multiple pages of staffing, what we've done for staffing. This is more for my purposes than anything, just look back to see when we hired this person or that person and whatnot. But it's kind of interesting for you guys to do the same thing. The next schedule is the fall enrollment history, the past 26 years. You can see this last year where our total fall enrollment was 4,901, which averages 4.5% increase throughout that 26-year period. 4.5% increase throughout the 26-year period. When we get to the enrollment projections, when I was looking at it this afternoon, I was thinking to myself, in those projections, all the kindergarten classes are slated for 400 plus. It doesn't seem that long ago that I was looking at 200, sitting on pins and needles if we were going to make it to 200 kids. So now we're 400 plus. The next schedule is a building utilization. I found this very valuable for you guys as a board member. Kind of shows each building where they're at now, how much room they have to grow and whatnot. And there you can see the intermediate middle school starting to get to that level. We're making plans, and that's why the capital outlay projection fund had all of those things in there. Then lastly is the enrollment projection. First set of numbers is where we're currently at for 21-22 school year. This does not include the out-of-district placements. These are just kids that are in the buildings. A little harder to see, but you can see it on hard copy in front of you. And then we also have this Brandon Valley distance learning line item, which totals 70 kids that we have in distance learning. Total K-12. So a total of 4,841 resident kids in the school district this year, having going to 5,018, which is an increase of 177. I think I budgeted 180. The next year is another 183. I budgeted 180, and then it jumps up to 207, 242, and 254 the fifth year. And that's all those kindergarten classes is what drives this whole thing. If we have a down year, which I don't predict, obviously, because all 5 years I have it going steady or higher. And board member Saxer sent me a publication a few weeks ago that said, what was it, COVID caused all in 6 years, basically, we're going to have a lot of kindergarten kids. So it doesn't seem like it'll slow down any. But that's the kicker, the 400 or kindergarten kids. If we miss that, then it affects all the way through. Now the individual classes, you can look at those, and I show going up 4.5% each year. Get a little pop in growth in the intermediate school, starts to level off in the middle school, and then really levels off in the high school. Or goes down a niche even. And then the last spreadsheet in there is the current fall enrollment count. This is our state aid count on September 24th, 2021. How many kids we had in each school, each grade in each school. If you remember that we pulled a junior K section out of Robert Bennis Elementary this past year, allowed us to, we put it in one of the other schools, it allowed us to get one more section of kids at Robert Bennis Elementary. So, we do watch those enrollments very closely and try to maximize our facilities the best we can. Questions? As I said, it's a very important document for you guys as board members, I believe. This document sits on my desk or on my computer for probably 6 of the 12 months in a year. So it's always there and tweaked, and so there is a lot of time and effort put into it. And I think we put a pretty good product out here. Those enrollment projections, I've run through a lot of superintendents that'll bet me one way or the other which way they're going, but in the end, I'm usually right there. Correct? Yes, it's correct.
Nothing a little short this much.
So, I'm very confident in those enrollment numbers, you know, and if I'm going to err, I try to err on the side of caution, but, you know, sometimes, you know, there's been years where I've missed that, but that's why we have these fund balances, to get us through those tougher years and whatnot. So you're in good position. You're in one of the best positions. Congratulations, because as Mr. Hubers said, you have a great beginning band program. There's a lot of quarter notes in here that make you very good, too. That's all I have, plus my voice is going.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lundberg, and thank you very much, Superintendent Larson. If you guys have any questions on the 5-year plan after you've read the novel, please reach out to one of these two gentlemen if you do have any questions. So thank you very much for all the hard work you guys put into that for us. With that, I would, under general business, the consent, I would entertain a motion to approve items 2 through 4, please.
So moved. Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Personnel, I would entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 11, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Items 12 and 13 are there for your review for information only. Under Communication Central Office, there are some building permit applications, if you're interested in looking at those. That takes us to our formal board reports. Does anyone have a formal board report they would like to share tonight?
I'll just give a quick update. We had a Child Nutrition Wellness Committee update, or meeting. Very impressed just with everybody that attends, and also just the leadership that happens there and across the entire district. There's been a lot that's been on hold, obviously, with COVID, but there's a lot of plans to pick things back up, from having somewhat of a health and wellness fair to bringing a lot of health professionals back into our schools just to share with the students. And just wanted to really thank everyone for their patience in getting things back on board, but also the excitement to bring things back into the school. So I was excited to be part of that committee, and just again for all the leadership that was exhibited. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, hearing none. With that, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session citing South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2.3 to review communication from legal counsel.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Oh, sorry, I forgot that.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will dismiss everyone else and go into executive session.